we have to set the example. And it's not a show. Believe me, it's not a show. If you saw us outside of the confines of this office and see how we interact socially, um, it's genuine. It's a good culture. It's an important culture, and it works. It works.
Welcome to Law Meets Life, presented by Pond Lehocky, where conversations go beyond the courtroom and into the people, experiences, and moments that define who we are. I'm your host, Katie Frey, and today's guest is one of the founding partners of Pond Lehocky, Jerry Lehocky. Jerry, thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here. Now, Jerry, I know you and I haven't had a chance to connect in person yet since I started working at Pond Lehocky. But now that we're together, I have to tell you that you are one of the reasons why I joined the firm.
Oh, this is shocking.
And I can tell you exactly why.
Please do.
During my interview, Fran and Drew mentioned to me that it is rare to see Jerry Lehocky in the offices because he is working day in and day out fighting for injured workers and has one of the largest caseloads in the firm.
That is true.
And that was the moment that I knew I wanted to join this and be a part of this.
Because you didn't want to see me?
No. But that's hilarious. It's because I wanted to be at a place where leaders led by example. And I knew after hearing that story that this is a place I wanted to be.
Good.
So, Jerry, my first question to you is, after all of these years fighting for injured workers, what drives you to continue to relentlessly fight for them?
The injured workers. That's what drives me. When you get involved in representing men and women who have experienced probably some of the worst events in their lives, being injured, you get a sense very, very early on of their immediate need for help and for protection, and for someone fighting, advocating, going to bat, believing in them, trusting in them. It becomes a way of life. At least for me, it has. So, yes, I work very hard. I put a lot of time in, but I never considered it to be work. It's a calling for me, and I love it more today than I did 40 years ago when I started. So I can do this day and night, and I don't know where the energy comes, but I love it. I absolutely love what I do.
Wow. And that love has grown over those years. I think that's incredible.
It has. Yes, it has.
And where does that stem from? Is there a specific moment where you can look back and you're like, that's where I became hooked? That's where I got my source of energy that became a well for me.
I can't pinpoint a specific client or a specific verdict that I got or a specific settlement. Um, I really can't. It came early on. I think probably the first case that I won when I got a phone call from the client who prior to that time had really no expectation that we were going to win, and we won, and it literally changed their lives. So I'm blessed with the ability to have that kind of impact on someone's life without, being a doctor and, operating on them to save their lives. We do that in a way that doesn't require a hospital stay.
Mm.
It does change their lives because they're put in positions where their lives have been so negatively impacted, not only by the injury, but by the effects of that injury on their lives, on their home lives. Um, I would say most of the people that I've represented over the years, no matter what their socioeconomic background is, um, don't save for a rainy day, and they live paycheck to paycheck. And it doesn't matter what position or job they do, most Americans don't save. So when something like an injury happens, a devastating injury happens, and their immediate access to a paycheck is stopped because of that injury, their lives are turned upside down. So they're in pain. Now they don't have a paycheck coming in, and now they're concerned about how they're going to feed their families, how they're going to pay their bills. Can their kids stay in school if they're in private or parochial Catholic schools or whatever? I've talked to doctors who were injured in an operating room, who were employees of hospitals. Same situation. You'd be amazed how tenuous most Americans are with respect to how they survive. So I've seen it firsthand, and I've seen how important it is for us, everyone in this firm, to recognize that we need to do everything we can to get these people back to where they were, not only through our legal representation, but through our relationships with our doctor network, to get them the best possible care that they can get to get better, get back to their lives, and move on. Nobody wants to be hurt.
Right.
No one really wants to talk to me. I mean, I'm the last person at this firm or Sam or anybody here that you really want to deal with. And I get it. I understand that. But things happen. Every day, tragic things happen to people, and they need help. The insurance industry and the law is designed to make it difficult for them. It is. It's an unfortunate aspect of the area of law that we practice. But unless you have someone who knows how to fight within the confines of the law, you're going to be taken advantage of. There's no question about it. You will be taken advantage of by the insurance industry.
And I want to talk about the insurance industry a little bit more because you started your career representing the insurance industries and representing the employers. Was there a moment where you realized I'm on the dark side and you wanted to make that switch?
Here's a funny story. So early on, I was, as you point out, I was with a defense firm, a large defense firm here in Philadelphia. And they had a small part of their practice was workers' compensation defense cases with one particular client, a big insurance company. And I was assigned to one law firm. And within that law firm was Sam Pond. And Sam and I went to battle against one another for 4 years,
Wow.
literally. Probably 3 or 4 days a week, we were on opposite sides of a council table. So in that battle, that ongoing battle that I had with Sam and his firm, uh, it became clear to me that I was not on the right side of the table where I needed to be. So Sam and I had many conversations during that time about me leaving the defense firm and joining his firm. Because of the way the business worked at that time, they didn't have enough cases for me to handle to come over. So I had to wait almost a year from the time we decided that I would come until they had enough work for me to do and then come over.
Wow.
Yeah. So Sam and I have been together in one way or another for almost 40 years.
That is incredible.
It's the longest relationship of my life.
I was
True.
about to say, you sound like soulmates in a sense.
We are soulmates in a lot of ways.
That's
No question
incredible.
about it.
I am so curious. I wish I had a time machine and I could go back in time and crawl into your brains as you met each other. So I am so curious about what your first impression was of Sam Pond.
I'll put it in perspective for you. So back then, Sam is representing injured workers. He also had his own private practice, which PMA allowed him to do at the time. And I saw him not only in the courtroom, but also when we were competing with one another. And I said, I can relate to this guy. He's a competitor. He doesn't let up. He knows the law. He knows how to use the law. He's relentless in what he does. And he's smart. He's extremely bright. And I related to that. And I wanted to be around that. So it made it easy for me. And we had a lot in common. You know, we came from similar backgrounds, although he was here in Philly and I was in Pittsburgh. But we had a lot of things in common. So it was easy. It was very easy to spend time with Sam. And not only talking about the law, but talking about life. And we loved to travel. We skied all over the world together early on. We've done a million things together. And it's been easy, very easy. Yeah, it's great. It's been absolutely great.
I love to hear that. Now, I want to go back to what you were talking about growing up in Western Pennsylvania. I've heard you talk about growing up around steel workers and tradespeople. So you really understood your clients before you ever began to represent them in court. How much of who you are today comes from where you grew up?
Probably 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, um, I believe that who you are is in large part dependent upon from where you come, not only geographically, but the family unit. And, Western Pennsylvania, back when I was growing up in the 70s and early 80s, it was all about steel and railroads. So in my high school, if your parents or your father didn't work in a steel mill or on the railroad, uh, there were very few other jobs to do. So everybody was involved in those industries. And my father had a plumbing business, so he wasn't in the steel industry, uh, steel mill, but all my uncles were, and both of my grandfathers were. So I was very familiar with that whole way of life. And between my freshman and sophomore and junior years of college, I worked in a steel mill. And I worked from Memorial Day to Labor Day, 16 hours a day, every day. So I missed those 2 summers with all my buddies, but I learned a lot in that mill. And I learned that I didn't want to end up there. And I had lots of conversations with the guys that I worked with who told me, when you get back to college, make sure you study because you don't want to end up here. For them, although it was good wages and it was, you could provide for your family, many of them thought it was a prison because there was no other way for them to go. And, the drudgery of doing the same thing over and over again for many, many years wasn't pleasant on a lot of levels. But as I said, it provided a way of life. And I learned early on that if I worked my tail off, I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
Now, outside of fighting for injured workers and everything that you do here at the firm, I'm curious about what makes you truly happy outside of work.
My family,
Yeah.
Watching my daughter grow into the soon-to-be lawyer once she passes the bar in July.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, that gets me going.
Yeah.
I'm very, very proud and very lucky to have her and my wife in my life. That makes me happy. We just rescued another dog this past month. So,
Oh my gosh.
notwithstanding the fact that I was up at 4 a.m. cleaning up an accident in my bedroom, I'm happy.
So how many dogs now do we?
3.
Okay.
We always have 3. Yeah, 3 corgis that we rescued.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
3 corgis?
Yeah.
We need to have a bring your dog to the office day.
Oh, it would be a zoo.
I
There's
literally
no way.
don't even care.
They're so bad.
I will
so bad.
assume responsibility so
Yeah.
I can beat them. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So my wife is the biggest animal lover you will ever meet in your life. And from the time she was, I think, 8 or 9, she gave 50 cents a week to the SPCA.
Oh my gosh.
And she's been amazing inspiration for me and taught me so much about animals because I never thought that I would be in a home with multiple animals.
I was about to say, did you ever dream you'd be a father to 3 corgis?
No, 3 corgis. We had 29 birds at one time. We had a rabbit. We had a guinea pig. I had a koi pond. I raised koi fish for a while.
Oh my god.
We have a horse. We had a pony. Now we have a horse. All kinds of things going on in our property.
We'll be back with more Law Meets Life after a quick message from our sponsor.
Up! Do my eyes play games?
What do you see, Captain? Is it the Redcoats?
No, it's another Pond Lehocky billboard. Who here's been injured at work?
We have, sir. It's our fingers, sir. Oh, they ache.
Well then, You know who to call. To the front. March!
These things are everywhere.
So I'm back with Jerry Lehocky, father to 3 corgis,
Among other things.
among other things,
Yes.
yes. I am curious, if you weren't a lawyer, what do you think you would be doing?
I would be a soap opera actor.
Tell me more.
So you're too young to understand all of this. JR probably does. But when I was growing up, the most popular show on television was General Hospital.
Okay.
And the 2 primary characters were Luke and Laura. They were it. And I wanted to be Luke.
Oh my
That was my goal in life, to be a soap opera actor and be Luke of General Hospital.
We need to make this happen.
Well, we're well beyond that
we
now.
are not. We are not.
We are well beyond that now.
There's Golden Bachelor now.
Oh, well, I don't know anything about that, but I'm telling you, back in the day, soap operas were it. They were, one on every network, and multiple actually on every network. As the World Turns, General Hospital, One Life to Live, all of them. And they were very, very popular. And I saw that and I said, you know what? That's a steady job. That's a steady acting job. They were acting 5 days a week. I thought this would be great. I would love to act and I would have steady work.
Did you ever do some acting?
I did. I acted in high school.
Okay.
I acted in college. Yeah, I did. And now, look, what we do as trial lawyers, we perform. So I'm getting my fill of that through what I do.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
I know. I surprised the heck out of
I
you
was
now.
not expecting that answer. Actor. Incredible.
Yeah.
Now, going back to law, there are many different areas of law that you could have gone into. And I am curious if there was any other sector of law that you had any interest in.
No.
Always workers' comp.
Well, my second year of law school, I was a research assistant for my contracts professor, a gentleman named Hansel Minyard. And he and I were very close. And during that second year, he was asked to become the city solicitor of Philadelphia, which is the top lawyer for the city. So he said to me, "Hey, Jerry, listen, I have to resign my position here at Temple Law to take this solicitorship position. If you want, I know you need to work because you're putting yourself through law school. I'll get you a job at the city solicitor's office." I said, "Sure, whatever."
Yeah.
So he did, and he got me a job in the workers' compensation department of the city solicitor's office. And that's where I was exposed for the first time to what workers' compensation was all about.
Wow.
And we were, I was representing the city of Philadelphia in that area of law. And one thing led to another, and I just fell in love with it and stuck with it. And here I am, 40-some years later.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's how I got exposed to it.
So we've established your early career, your early life. Now you're practicing law, you're representing workers, things are moving. Then eventually you and Sam decide to build something together. Looking back now and after talking about how you truly are, in a way, work soulmates, this all feels inevitable. But I'm guessing it didn't necessarily feel inevitable that all of this would happen at that time. So when Pond Lehocky started, what did you dream that it would become?
It was a lot different back then. The legal climate was different. How to go about getting business was different, vastly different. And our immediate goals were to survive. So our initial plans were to, and they're still to a large part the same now, in that we agreed to put almost everything we made back into the firm so that we could survive, number one, and then succeed, number two. So it didn't take long to get beyond the survival mode, much quicker than we thought it would be, and then move into the success and scale and expansion mode, which we continue to do every year. But it was a process, Early on, most of our business came from the relationships that we built, face-to-face relationships we had with other law firms and with doctors. So Sam and I would work all day long. We would do a business lunch during the day, and we would do 2 dinners at night
Wow.
just to build relationships. So we would do a dinner at 5:30 or 6, and then we'd do another one at 7:30 or 8. And then, go back home, prepare for the next day with your legal work, and then do it all over again, just to solidify the relationship so that we would have a referral basis. And then as we continued to do that and became successful, we were able to expand the brand
Yeah.
to get it to where we had more and more freedom, more and more avenues, and then social media became the way to go. The internet became a method to bring in business beyond the business lunches and the business dinners that we had. So it changed dramatically, but our core value of putting most everything back into the firm remains to this day, which allows us to expand and grow and represent more and more people, which is ultimately what we want to do.
Absolutely. Now, every successful business has stories that nobody sees. We usually hear about wins, but we don't necessarily always hear about when things are uncertain. Was there ever a moment where you genuinely thought this might not work?
No, no. I never thought that it wouldn't work. I knew that no one could outwork myself, Sam, Tom, and the people that came over with us. That was never a question. Uh, there would have been some type of outside source. A change in the law was really the only thing to this day. It's really our only enemy, at least in my eyes, because the area of workers' compensation is so statute specific, and that one swipe of a governor's pen can change our world in an instant. And that would be the only thing that would have a real negative impact on our ability to represent injured workers.
Something that has always impressed me about Pond Lehocky isn't just the growth, it's the culture. So, how intentional were you and Sam about building that kind of culture?
Very. Everything starts from the top. If Sam and I and Tom and the other leaders in the C-suite, if we don't set the example, it will never be absorbed by everybody else. So all you have to do is sit in on some of our meetings or sit outside my office and watch the interaction between my secretary, my paralegal, and the assistant, and see how they help each other all day long, and see how we, in a meeting, relate to one another and recognize that we have to set the example. And it's not a show. Believe me, it's not a show. If you saw us outside of the confines of this office and see how we interact socially, it's genuine, and it has to be, because it's what we do is too important. And you can't fake culture. You can't. And the people who spend their time here would recognize, and should recognize if we were disingenuous about what we say and what we do. You would pick it up in a second. So none of us ever want that to happen. It's a good culture. It's an important culture. And it works. It works.
Goes back to leading by example.
Absolutely. You just can't ask someone to do something that you're not willing to do. It's that simple. I would never do that.
Yeah. I think it's time that we talk about one of the biggest controversies in Pittsburgh history: the Iron City sign.
What do you want to know?
For people who don't know the story, can you walk us through how Pond Lehocky got involved with this billboard in the first place?
We found out through our broker that that particular billboard was going to become available because the lease was going to expire, and the tenant of that billboard, which is really what we are, we lease billboards, was giving it up and wasn't going to renew. So we had the opportunity, if we acted quickly enough, to secure that billboard. And we did. And once we did, it set off a firestorm of, to your word, controversy in Pittsburgh. And we never looked at it as a controversy because it was just a business decision that we made, as any other, several other businesses who were also vying for that billboard were going to make. We just happened to beat them to the punch. And we got all kinds of comments, negative comments, that we somehow stole that sign from Iron City, which we didn't do, but it created a tremendous amount of buzz. I think our search numbers for that week following the installation of our name on that billboard set records for us.
Wow.
So it did what it was supposed to do.
It
It
did.
created a buzz. It instantly solidified our brand in the city of Pittsburgh, which is, we wanted to do. We didn't think it was going to go that quickly, but anywhere you are in Pittsburgh, if you look up, you're going to see our billboard, which is fantastic.
And I think most people don't know that you are a Pittsburgh native.
I am.
That
I am
Pond
a Pittsburgh
Lehocky
native.
is both Pittsburgh native and Philadelphia native.
And we just celebrated our 10th anniversary of our Pittsburgh office, which is doing great. We will continue to expand there and throughout the Commonwealth. So we're a bi-coastal, at least within the parameters of Pennsylvania, a bi-coastal firm. We are here on the Schuylkill River, and we are out on the Ohio River in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So we cover coast to coast.
Another thing that surprised me when I first learned about the story as well is that publicity wasn't necessarily the full story either. My understanding is that Pond Lehocky actually offered to preserve the Iron City sign, or at least do a collaboration. Is that true?
We tried different things, and more particularly, most recently, I should say, with the NFL, when it hosted the draft in May. We had tried to work with either the Steelers and or the NFL because they wanted that billboard, but we weren't able to come up with something that we could all agree to. But yeah, we're open to do a lot of different things. But if it doesn't work for us, and if it in any way takes away from our brand, we're not going to do it.
So I know that this is a sign that you probably saw your whole childhood on that Mount Washington.
I did.
So why was preserving that piece of Pittsburgh history important to you?
Well, it's important to anyone who grows up there. You have a connection to it. It's something that you can identify with. And, the reaction that we got from many, many people who grew up in Pittsburgh and around there, you somehow take ownership of it, and you identify with it. And when it changes, it's like someone, it's like your sister marrying some guy you don't like that comes into the family. It creates problems, at least initially. So we were sensitive to that. But until you get to know us and recognize what we do and why we do what we do, you're really not going to understand it. But once you do, then I think everything's going to be fine.
Absolutely. Did the public reaction surprise you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we didn't. I was not. We weren't prepared. I don't think for that. But everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I get it. But sit down with myself, Sam, or anyone in this firm, Tom, and anyone who works here, and spend some time knowing us. Then I think all of those things will go away.
And I think Pittsburgh natives are very passionate.
As they should be.
As they should be.
Yeah, just as they are in Philadelphia, just as they are all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look what's going on in New York right now. The Knicks fans are going crazy.
It is true.
As they should be, right? There's a lot of pride that citizens of particular cities and towns develop with certain things, whether it's a sports team, whether it's a billboard, whether it's a statue, whatever it is. I get it. We need that identity. We need that pride. We need that connection. So we're just providing another opportunity for those who are in need to connect with us.
I love that. Pittsburghers care very deeply about that sign. You care very deeply about Pittsburgh. even though so much of your work now happens at a national scale. So I want to give you the chance to talk directly to Pittsburgh natives right here, right now. If you could tell and talk to somebody directly in Pittsburgh who is upset about that sign, what would you say to them?
Call me, talk to me. I'll explain it to you. I'm happy to. I would love for you to get to know me beyond what you see on Mount Washington as my name, because at the end of the day, it's just a sign. It's just a representation of what we are and who we are. So until you make the effort to get to know me, then you really don't understand what that billboard represents and how that billboard can help you or help someone that you know uh, get out of a bad situation through a work injury. It's there to help. It's not there to be ridiculed. It's there to help. It's there to provide an easy access to getting the help that you need.
So, Jerry, we've talked about all of your life today, from your early days in Pittsburgh, watching your family and your father. We've talked about the Lehocky Zoo. We've talked about how and why you continue to fight for injured workers today. So now when you take that 1,000-foot view, when you really zoom out and look back at your life, what are you most proud of?
I'm proud of what we have created. I'm proud of all of the good that we've done for so many people. I'm proud that we can continue to do it, that we will do more for more people. I'm proud that I've been blessed to work with people that I love, doing a job. No, it's not even a job. Doing a passion that I love for people that I love with people that I love, and to be, 40 years into this and still have the energy, the passion, the love, the desire to continue to do it. I'm far from over.
Well, Jerry, we are coming to the end of our time together.
That
But
went fast.
that did. Time flies when you're having fun. Before we leave each other, I want to do some rapid fire Pittsburgh questions.
Go for it.
Are you ready?
Oh gosh, it's been so long. I hope I don't mess this up.
No pressure at all, but everything is writing on this. Okay. Are we ready?
All right, let's do it.
Permantes or pierogies?
Pierogies,
Steelers, Pirates, or Penguins?
Steelers.
Iron City or Icy Light?
Ugh. Icy light, but that's just because you asked me.
Favorite Pittsburgh neighborhood?
I would have to say Conway, which is where I grew up. Once we got out of Aliquippa, Conway and Freedom, to all my homeboys back there.
Shout out the homeboys. Best Pittsburgh view?
Looking at the Pond Lehocky billboard.
I agree with that. Most underrated Pittsburgh food?
Some type of kibasi.
One Pittsburgh celebrity you'd want to have dinner with?
There's several. I would love to have spent time with Mr. Rogers. He would be one for a certain set of reasons. Art Rooney would be another. Andrew Carnegie would be the third.
I very much share in that first answer. Whenever somebody asks me who would I want to meet, living or dead, I always say Fred Rogers.
Yeah.
What a light.
Tremendous example of someone who his entire adult life had the same set of values for a passion that he believed in that he never, ever let up on.
Ever.
And he was as solid, as genuine as he was day one to the last day he was ever on set. So, yeah, I would have a lot to talk to him about.
Absolutely. My cousin actually wrote him a letter when he was like 6 years old, and he responded, and he
Wow.
still has that letter.
That
from
says
Fred
it all
Rogers.
of it. It says everything about him as a
Absolutely.
man.
Absolutely. One word that describes Pittsburgh?
Proud.
I see that.
Well, you saw it in the reaction to the billboard. I mean, it all ties together.
Absolutely.
They're very, very proud.
Now, one word that describes Philadelphia.
Edgy.
I like that word, edgy.
Yeah, Philadelphians are more edgy than most, at least the cities that I've been in and spent some time in, were more edgy than other cities.
I like that.
In a good way,
Yeah.
in a demanding way.
Mm.
Yeah, I think so.
Jerry, final question for you today. What does law meets life mean to you?
They're both the same. My life is the law, and my law is my life. So it's just an identity for me. I am a lawyer who has spent his life practicing law. So they're interchangeable to me. That's it. I am the law, and I am my life.
I love it. Jerry, thank you.
You're welcome.
So much for
You're
being
welcome. This
here.
was fun.
I greatly enjoy learning more about you.
Have me back.
I will. And bring your corgis.
Please. We wouldn't get much done. But that would be great.
That would be
Thank
great.
you so much.
Thanks, Jerry.
Great
Really
seeing you.
appreciate it.
All
And
right.
thank you all so much for listening to Law Meets Life. Until next time.